This right here is what our yard used to look like. Yeah, it used to look just as bad as this. All these trees, mostly pine trees, but also look at this vine. This is muscadine, I believe. See how it's growing up out of the ground? Everywhere. Everywhere you look, you have these vines going up into the ground, air. And they're clearly some kind of grape, muscadine, I guess. I've never seen any fruit. All I've seen is these ghastly vines that climb way, way up there. God only knows how old this one is. And this isn't the worst of it. The worst of it's actually underground. Because once I started cutting the vines down from the trees and pulling them down, then I had to dig them out of the ground as well. I'm still doing that. And if you think this part looks bad, the part that's underneath is way worse. Anyway, our yard used to look like this, and all this was about the time I retired. I started working on this, and by the way, I retired at 72. So I was not young and spry. But actually, it was a benefit because I had pains in my back, and I would come out every morning 2 or 3 hours and cut down these trees. After I cut them down, then I had to log them, cut them, you know, in like 18-inch lengths, stack them, then cut off the branches, put the branches in my fire pit and burn them. It was a big ordeal. It took me several years to get to where I felt like the yard was, you know, looked like it was habitable, something that you didn't have to be embarrassed about. Now, some people might like this, you know. In fact, this is someone's property, and I think they have a house way up there on the hill, and this is good for privacy, but it's not very good if you want to actually live in it and do anything with it. So, yeah, this is what our yard looked like when I retired and started working on it. And it took me many months every day out with the chainsaw. And a lot of times the trees were just too big for me to really handle. Like this one. This one is not too big. This is about 12 inches in diameter. And I would cut that down by putting a loading strap on it and putting tension on it so that it would fall the direction I wanted it to fall. Take that tree down, but that tree then would lie on the ground along with however many others I cut down that day. And if rain came or it became too cold to work outside, they'd lay there and just be a depressing sight for a long time until I finally cleaned them up. So now our yard looks a little bit better, quite a bit better. I'll show you part of what I've done to it. This right here is one side, I forget whether it's the east or the west side, but anyway, you can see stumps on the ground because I cut out just from this little piece right here probably 150 trees, and over the whole 3-acre lot, I don't know, 300 or 400 trees. It got exhausting for sure, but it was a good thing for me to do. And then what I discovered after that was that on the ground were leaves, not just from that last fall, but from 20 years of leaves. So in this spot right here, I've been raking because I needed to expose the ground so that perhaps some grass could fall on it. Now, if you want to know what I did with the trees, I logged them, cut them up like this. All these tarps here go all the way around the property on 3 sides. It's a pretty long stretch. God knows how many thousands of logs are in there now. And we use them for firewood. This is the other kind of tree I spared. Whatever this is, it looks a little bit like elm, but it is, you can see several right here. This tree, whatever it's called, and the holly, which is also in this view, are what I decided to leave. And the main reason is that they provide so much privacy. You can see how it's almost like a weeping willow, the way the branches hang down. And, you know, we have quite a bit of space here. We're not right next to neighbors like you would be in suburbia, but still we want some privacy around the edges. So these, where I've got the logs stacked, that's the border of our property on this side. And so I've left these kinds of trees and the holly on pretty much on the edges of the property. And this ground right here is where I've been raking, so that in the future maybe some grass will grow up here. One of the hazards I had to contend with was a lot of poison ivy, which I'm very susceptible to. So, as a matter of fact, there's a little bit right there, which I've gotten just from raking the leaves. So down here, this bare ground looks good to me, because otherwise before that it was covered with leaves, like this piece right here, which I haven't got to yet. You can see these are leaves from many seasons, not just one. They're keeping the ground from becoming fertile with other things. Now this stretch right here, I'm very pleased with this. See how open it is? This used to be just like that forest that we were first looking at. Just like that. And so from this view here, you can see how many trees I cleared out and about what's left. And because of that, since now there's sunshine here, because the trees aren't blocking out the sunlight, now we have a pollinator area. For the first time this year, I planted all these wildflowers, perennials mostly, and this is our pollinator area to attract butterflies, birds, bees, and I'm hoping that in the years to come it becomes thicker and thicker. Also, when I first took out all the trees in this area and logged them and stacked them like I do, the ground was pretty much bare, just like that ground back there that I was just showing you. This was bare, and I raked it just like I'm raking that back there. And then the next year, look at all the grass that came up. I'm very pleased with this grass. I haven't cut it at all intentionally, because I want it to be filled in and wild. We don't need this for, you know, it's much better this way with thick grass. And because of that, other wildflowers are springing up. We've got these little things. Not quite sure what they are, but I like them. These red flowers. And we have mullein. I think that's how you pronounce it. That has started springing up all on its own, as far as I know. Beautiful plant. It's medicinal, with leaves that feel like feathers or something. It's very, very soft. This is medicinal, and it gets very tall. Those over here are from last year. That's how tall they got. And these these were all blooms of yellow flowers, and they drop seeds, I guess. So here's other mullein that's coming up from this year. And in addition to that, we have these great thistles. I'm so happy all these flowers are coming on their own, because thistles are also something that pollinator creatures like. So yeah, you can see how our land goes clear down into there, and you can see on both sides where I've got the log stacked, and that also finally made room for us to have a garden for the first time. Well, the first time I've really tried in a big way to make a garden, so here it is. And I'm hoping this works out. I'm not a gardener by trade or skill. I'm an engineer. So I'm glad if anything is growing. It looks like a little bit is. Mostly the root, seems like mostly the root vegetables, the beets and carrots and potatoes, surprisingly, and onions. And tomatoes are also doing well. Whereas some other things that I was really hoping would grow, like okra, are not making much of a showing at all. I'm not sure why. And this tree right here is a live oak. I love live oaks. They're very common in the coastal regions of Georgia. So I didn't know if it'd grow here at all, since we're in a more mountainous area. But I checked into it, and according to the map that shows you, what number you are and where plants will grow, it said this would grow. And it's doing well. I've got two of these. Two live oaks. And if you know anything about live oaks, they're way different from other oak trees. They're actually, the leaves don't go away. They're evergreens in a way. And they become magnificent trees. This is, when you see pictures of the Old South and these towering trees with huge branches crossing over a roadway, that's live oak. And then the other trees around here are fruit trees. This is a cherry, and that over there is a cherry, and I've got a couple plums and a peach, and on the other side of the yard I've actually got 2 persimmon trees and 2 pomegranate trees. Pomegranate. Now, why would I have pomegranate? Because when I went to the Holy Land with my son, I was just astonished that pomegranate trees were growing all over the place. And they have these beautiful, colorful blossoms. And of course the fruit, which everywhere is offered in the Holy Land. They squeeze up pomegranates for you, and you get a big cup of this reddish liquid that is extremely bitter. But anyway, I was just floored by that, and I checked into it and found that, hey, pomegranates will also grow in this region, believe it or not. So I'm just I'm kind of a nut about having unusual plants if I can get them. So last thing I'd like to show today, I think it's going to be the last thing, is my fire pit. What do I do with all the branches and leaves from all these trees that I've cut down? You can only log so much. You log the big, you log the pieces that are going to fit into your fireplace. Everything else you have to do away with. And so fortunately I've got 2 very big fire pits right here in my yard. And they were created because of a fluke that years ago, before we even had this property, there was a massive tornado in this area that knocked down a lot of trees. And what they did with those trees was they buried them in the ground. I guess that's all they could think of to do with them. Well, the thing about wood in the ground is it rots. So right here where these 2 pits are, they had buried trees which rotted, and then the ground collapsed, creating a very nice pit. And when I was clearing this property, at first, all this right here also was completely covered with the forest. So I didn't even know I had these pits. But when I finally got to the point where the obtruding trees were gone, and I saw I had these pits, then I had something to do with them. And I started filling them with the branches of the trees I was cutting down. And this went on for season after season, month after month. And right now, if you look at what this mostly is the leaves I've been raking up. Now, the one issue around fire pits in this area of the country is that there's a fire ban on from May for 6 months. So from May till, I guess, September maybe, you can't burn lawn debris. So all this piles up, unfortunately, and gets wet and becomes harder to light finally once the fire ban's over with. But this is all I can do. And some years, when I've been really in the thick of cutting things down, I had not only the fire pit filled with things that I needed to burn, but all this over here, the whole area, was just completely filled with the branches and, waiting for the time when I could burn them. And then, I mean, literally filled. There were so many. And so then when the fire ban was over, I had a huge job, not only to burn them, but to drag them from wherever they were over to the fire pit. So yeah, I've been busy, and fortunately God has given me health and strength, which surprisingly, when you reach a certain age, like me, I'm in my mid-70s now, you can't help but notice that your body is getting weaker. No matter what you do, that is the reality. There's only so much you can do about it. And I do what I can. I work out here in the yard every day for several hours. That helps. I also do exercises. I do 200 push-ups a day, and it helps too. You gotta do whatever you can to keep your health for as long as you can. So this is G. Willikers thanking you again for having a look at my life. I hope to see you next time.